So hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. I love the way I got distracted even as I was doing the intro right there. Like, what the fuck. So for all of you asking why Shiva was so quiet last video, he was sleeping. I can tell you one thing, he sure as hell isn't sleeping now. He was sleeping a while ago, so I thought, oh, I might do a video because he might sleep through it. No, little shit woke up right as I started to film. I love him, like, he's a little shit, but I love him. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about season 7, what I thought about it, you know, my favourite parts from it and stuff like that. Okay, so first of all, the premiere for season 7 is probably my favourite episode ever, but I kind of tie the premiere in with the finale from season 6. I know you shouldn't because they're completely different episodes, but I feel like they just both come hand in hand together. So to me, the finale and the premiere are kind of one episode, I guess. Go with this, let's go with that. They are my favourite episodes of The Walking Dead ever. I think some of the shots that we got in the premiere were just absolutely incredibly fitting, and it worked really well. I've said it before, like, Greg Nicotero is my favourite director when it comes to The Walking Dead. So if he directs an episode, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking love this shit. And I really do. Like, he did the premiere, he directed the premiere. I feel like Greg Nicotero gets the show in a way. Like, don't get me wrong, the other directors as well do an amazing job, but you can tell when you're watching an episode that it's a Nicotero episode. I feel like he gets it in a way that other people don't. But I loved how kind of chaotic that episode was. There was always the jumping forward and back in time. Like, you were seeing glimpses of what happened and you were like, what the fuck? The whole episode was just, you know, at first, upon your first viewing, it was kind of confusing to watch. You were like, what happened? Just let us know. But it kept that suspense. It was one of the strongest episodes, probably the strongest episode I've ever seen of The Walking Dead. And I feel as well, like, with the closing scene, with that scene where you see everybody together at the dinner table with what could have been, how happy they could have been together. Oh, it was horrible. It was so evil to include that fucking scene to see what could have been if they'd never met Negan and if all of that shit hadn't happened. So I loved that kind of little stab in the feelings after that episode. That you'd gone through all the emotions in the episode and you're like, it's okay, I'm okay. And then they throw in that scene and you're like, I'm not okay, this could have happened. They could have been happy together. Another one of my favourite episodes from this season was the episode where Rick meets Jadis and they try to strike a deal. I think that was episode 10. That was when she was like, show Rick up, bub, bub. Turns out she was saying up, 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 but it didn't sound like that to me. I also loved the Rashon-centred episodes. I thought it was lovely to get to see them together. Like I said before in the video, it feels like we'd never really gotten to see them strictly alone, how they are with each other alone. So getting to see that episode and see how Rick kind of needed her after everything that had happened. Like, he kept sort of asking her for one more day or we can take more time. And it was like he was putting off getting back to everything, that he was putting off getting back to normal and planning stuff. I think that was the first time we'd really seen Rick kind of refuse to believe what was happening, because Rick was always the type of fella that if something happened to him, he'd be like, okay, right, fuck this, we're gonna plan. But when we saw him on his own with Michonne, like I said, I can't remember what video I said it in, but I said it in the video, that it was like a, kind of like a getaway for him. It was like a little holiday or a Roman holiday. So seeing that and seeing how she dealt with him as well, that she knew something was up and she was kind of like, oh, it's not like you to kind of say you want more time or that you don't want to get back. And I think that was the first time in a long time that we really saw Rick's humanity come through, that he is just a man. I know we saw that in the premiere when he was lying on top of the RV, when he was lying down with the axe and he looked pretty broken. I mean, the Negan lineup is probably the most broken that we've ever seen Rick. But, I don't know, the scene with Michonne where he was away with her and he was in the car with her, or when they fall through the roof and they're lying on top of the thing, or they're laughing, it makes him look so human in comparison to what he usually looks like. Another point as well I wanted to make about Rick was, I said in the video, you know, how bad is Negan really compared to what Rick has done? And there was a few people that were kind of like, oh yeah, I see that point. And there was also a few people that were like, oh god, you trying to like demonise Negan or demonise Rick or something. No, like, what I meant by that was Negan is a new character that we're kind of just been introduced to recently enough. We've been following Rick through the apocalypse. So when Rick does crazy shit, we kind of make excuses for it, I guess, because we're like, oh, he was just protecting whoever, or he was just doing what he thought was right. That's kind of what Negan's doing too. Negan has built himself a little empire. And yes, Negan's fucked up and he's done fucked up things, but Rick has too. Now, to be fair, all of the fucked up things Rick has done, he just kind of did in response to stuff that has been done to him. I'm gonna kill that hamster. So when he bit out Joe's throat, that was because Joe was a fucked up individual, as was his crew, and Rick was just acting appropriately. And everyone says that biting out your man's throat was like the craziest thing Rick had done. No, like if somebody was fucking with me and my family, and like I was in Rick's situation, I mightn't have thought of it, because fair play to him, it was a fairly creative way to fight back. You know, I probably would have done the exact same thing. Or when it comes to the Terminus group, he shot them all inside the church. I remember when that was like a scandal, people were like, oh my god. But there's been scenes or glimpses of Rick throughout the season where it's like, ooh, hang on. Like, in particular, the scene where, oh god, is it Oceanside or Ocean View? You know, the group of people with the guns, when they storm their community and Rick is walking up and down in front of them, he's like, we just want what you have, we just want your guns, we don't want to hurt you. The fact that everyone was on their knees in front of him, like, silently looking at him, it really reminded me of the Negan lineup and of something very characteristically Negan. You know, I don't really know why, but that scene really reminded me of Negan. I feel like the more Rick has to deal with Negan, the more Rick has to deal with all of that shit, the more he's going to take on a few of his characteristics, maybe. Because Negan's... people argue Negan's good. Yes, I've seen people argue that Negan is completely good, which I don't agree with. I believe he's his reasons for doing what he does. You know, fucking killing Abraham and Glenn was in response to Rick having killed his men, the sleeping saviors. The saviors have done fucked up shit before to so many communities, so like they have it coming to them. I feel like Rick is going to take on a few of Negan's personality traits, because if he wants to beat him, he's going to have to learn the way his mind works. He's going to have to get inside Negan's head, figure out how he thinks, why he thinks that way, how he does things. So he's going to subconsciously take on a few of Negan's characteristics, I think. But I feel like this season has been kind of a big deal for Rick, because in the premiere, when Negan pulls Carl down in the lineup, and when he tells Rick to cut off his hand, Rick goes apeshit. He starts crying and snotting down his face, and he's breaking down. He's like, don't do it, or kill me, or whatever. He's trying to come up with any possible reason to not have to hurt Carl. But in the finale, when Negan was like, I'm going to kill your boy and I'm going to take your hands, Rick's response was like, whatever, I'll kill you someday. It was completely different to the scene that we had seen in the premiere. Like, it was worlds apart. So Rick is kind of, I don't know, it's like nothing, I don't want to say that, but it kind of feels like he can't be shocked by Negan anymore. That the shock factor of Negan has worn off. That Rick's like, yeah, fuck it, alright, take my hands, whatever, I'm gonna kill you. Or that's just what I think. I've loved Negan this season as well. Oh my god, I've loved Negan this season. I keep saying I hate him and I give him abuse, but I do love him. I think he's a fantastic character. Him and Ezekiel have been like my two favourite things about this season. I wish we'd seen more of Ezekiel, because I really did love getting to see him and Shiva and the kingdom and whatnot, but I'm sure we'll see more of that next season. Daryl is another thing that interested me in the season, because I said recently I feel like in season 6 his character went a bit stale, and I was like, Now he's been my favourite character since probably like season 3, so for me to get bored of him, it is really saying something. But this season I feel like he really picked up, like his character picked up, like the whole Easy Street storyline, where he was taken he was taken captive. You know, him trying to break out, that he still had that fight left in him. When he killed Fat Joey, when he absolutely went apeshit on Fat Joey and beat the fuck out of him till he just stopped breathing. Little bit like a wild animal, like the way when he was cornered that he just lashed out. And then there was a scene when he finally like reconnected with the group, and you see him and Rick, and it's like, oh, and then he doesn't go back to Alexandria with them because he can't. And then there's the whole Dwight and Daryl storyline. I feel like that is definitely going to pick up in the coming season, because Dwight was the one that tried to kind of talk Daryl into just saying I'm Negan back when Daryl was being held captive. When Dwight came to them and he was like, oh, I want to kill Negan, I want to help, Daryl didn't kill him. Daryl could have killed him then and there, but he didn't, because he kind of knows what kind of character Dwight is, and Dwight knows what kind of character Daryl is. There's like this mutual understanding that even though we don't like each other, we kind of understand each other. I think that's going to be very interesting to explore in the coming season, and as well, because Dwight left the little figure, the little wooden carved figure that said I didn't know, that he left that specifically for Daryl to find. To kind of, to show Daryl, I did not double cross you, please do not kill me next time you see me. And I don't believe Dwight double crossed him. I do believe Dwight did his best to follow through with the plan that he said he was going to. But I think that's going to be definitely interesting to see in the upcoming episodes, how Dwight and Daryl talk or interact with each other. Especially because Dwight is still on Negan's side, so how is Dwight going to communicate at all with Alexandria? But Dwight is another thing I loved about this season too, because I hated Dwight. You guys know how much I fucking hated Dwight when he first came into the show. We've learned that the Dwight that we see isn't exactly Dwight. It's the kind of front that he puts on when Negan's around. Obviously because he likes living and he wants to stay alive. But since Sherry left, we've seen another side of him. We learned that the only reason he was there, the only reason he went along with everything was to keep Sherry safe. Then when Sherry fucked away out of it, he tried to follow her. And he went to the place where him and Sherry had agreed on meeting, that if anything like this ever did happen, they agreed on a place. He went to that place and she wasn't there. And I was like, oh no. That also kind of has me thinking, well, where the fuck did she go? But when we see him lie to Negan, that's when we kind of go, okay, he isn't actually in with Negan, he's just pretending to be. So I think Dwight, even though he's only been in it for like a season and a half, maybe a season and a bit, he's had an awful lot of character development, like, Jesus. And it's if you watch the fan base and how the fan base react to him, a lot of people hated Dwight as well. Even though they saw what he was doing, they saw why he was doing what he was doing. People were still like, Jesus, I hate that guy. Especially when he killed Denise, like, come on. Things like that I still don't really get, because, like, okay, yeah, you're on Negan's side, but was that really necessary? And then when Tara brought it up, and when Tara was like, you killed Denise, she was a doctor, his response was, I wasn't aiming for her. So he literally just said, oh yeah, I was aiming to kill Daryl. It's like, bitch, whose side are you on? So yeah, there was that. I really have enjoyed Dwight this season, and I hope that he continues on the storyline, and I hope that in the next season we see him get more in with Rick's group and stuff, which we probably will see. Father Gabriel is another character that I've been like, whoa. Like, he turned into this very unexpected badass. I expected him to die long, long ago, and he didn't. And then the scene where they're at the... oh, what's their name? Jadis and her people. The junkyard people. When they're at their, like, little compound. When he comes up with a knife up to this woman's neck, I was like, oh my God, Father Gabriel. He's come a long way from being that man up on the rock that was crying, and I loved where his character has gone. I think it's because I wasn't really expecting it. Usually people like that, they kind of go badass for a while and they die. Don't let that happen. I swear, if they kill Father Gabriel off, no. So I haven't really expected Gabriel's character arc, but I've loved watching it. That he went from the person that tried to sell out the group to Deanna to the person that fights with the group and will do whatever they tell him. Eugene. You guys, Eugene. Let's talk about Eugene. Okay. So at first, I thought, yeah, he's fucking with Negan, he's going to be an inside man. But no, lads, I think he is on Negan's side. Even if... this is very hard to explain and people are going to get mad. I'm not defending Eugene, but I'm saying I still think if he is on Negan's side that he would switch back to Rick's side in a heartbeat. I mean, like we saw him with Sasha, that he did give Sasha the pill when she was in the cell. He slipped it under the door. If he really was on Negan's side and just was like, fuck it, I'm loyal to him now, he wouldn't have cared about Sasha. He wouldn't have cared. He'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's not my place. He still tried to help her. You know, you could argue he could have helped to try and... or he could have tried to help her escape. Instead of giving her the pill, he could have been like, I'll let you out. I'll help you escape. Instead, he gave her a suicide pill, which is kind of like, Eugene, your idea of help is very strange. I think he was making the best of a bad situation. When he got taken to the Saviour's compound, he was kind of like, alright, I either adapt or I die. So he adapted. And I think he likes feeling... not like valued, because... I know everyone in Rick's group gave him a lot of shit, and they always did call him a coward to make him feel stupid, but he was important to people there. Yeah, they did verbally abuse him, and it was lousy, but he was valued and loved. But to be in a group where people actually think you're smart, which is the case with him in the Saviour's compound, I think he likes that feeling. I think he likes feeling like, yeah, I am smart. I can fix things. I'm valuable to these people. But at the same time, I do think there is still a degree of loyalty towards Rick's group on Eugene's behalf, and I want to see where that goes. I want you, because, like, fucking Negan killed Abraham. He was Eugene's other half. They were like best friends. So I don't see Eugene just completely forgetting about that and getting over it. I don't see that happening. So we'll just have to wait and see where that goes. And then you have the deaths. You have Glenn and Abraham in the premiere and Sasha in the finale, and all the other deaths kind of in between. I feel like that they were quite big characters to lose. I mean, Sasha's death and the way she went, I loved it. Yes, she took the pill. My laptop is fucked up. My laptop is like 7 years old. It's fucked up. It's slow. It doesn't work properly. The contrast on it is also completely wrecked. So if I'm watching a dark scene, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm watching a dark scene, I can barely make out what's going on, even if I have the brightness up to the full. That's probably why I missed her taking the pill, or maybe I wasn't looking at the screen, I don't know. But, and when we saw Eugene lie to Negan about that, when he was like, oh, she could have suffocated, Negan knew fully well she took the pill. Now, that was Eugene just kind of saving his own skin, because he was like, well, if I tell him she took the pill, I'm going to get in trouble. But still, now we have that doubt in Negan's head, and it's like, well, is their relationship going to break down? Is Eugene going to go running back to Alexandria? Will they accept him if he does? So there was all of that. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the deaths. Abraham's death actually impacted me the most. Like, Glenn, yeah, it was really, really sad, and he could have had so much with Maggie. But Abraham, I loved his humour, and I loved his one-liners, and he was an unpredictable character. I mean, when he broke up with Rosita and then just went and got with Sasha, I was like, really, man? That was fast. I really do miss him. And then we saw all the flashback scenes in the finale where we saw him and Sasha. I realised how much I actually missed seeing him on the screen. And then when Sasha and Rosita had that talk as well about Abraham dying for a purpose, that he didn't die for a purpose like he wanted to. He did. He did die for a purpose. He did take it like a champ. He was Negan's original victim. And he sat there, he didn't cry, he didn't freak out, he sat there and was just so fucking brave. But like the way that Sasha died, I feel like it did serve a purpose. Like I said, when she came out of that coffin, she gave the group that brief moment of, that brief window of opportunity to kind of, you know what I'm trying to say, she wrestled Negan to the ground, but she caught him off guard. So she did die for a purpose, and she wasn't made Negan's bitch. I mean, when she got into the coffin, Negan was kind of like, wow, she really is on our side, or whatever. And then she comes out dead, and it's like, no bitch, she's not as easily bought as Eugene apparently is. And it was horrible to see when Maggie and Jesus were out in the forest and they were looking for Sasha, and then they found her and they put her down. It was lousy to see Maggie, because Maggie has lost pretty much everyone she's ever fucking loved. So it's like, Enid, watch out, will you? Get close to Maggie, you end up dead. I feel like Maggie has progressed as well, that Maggie is just pushing forward. Especially with the whole hilltop thing as well, because now she's like, okay, well, I have a group of people that I'm going to lead, I'm going to make this right. Because Maggie's a good person, she's fundamentally a good person. I think she was the perfect leader for that, and Jesus even thought that as well. I got completely sidetracked there. Well, I think I was talking about Sasha. Just basically, with all the characters, there's been loads of things that I've loved this season. I've loved all the developments. I loved the pacing of this season, and I know a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't like the jumping and the jarring between episodes. They had a few standalone episodes, like Eugene's episode or Tara's episode. I loved them, because I felt like the season, it was really unpredictable. Like, you didn't know next week, are we going to see what's happening with Daryl? Or, like, are we going to see what's happening in Alexandria? And then it would just, like, cut to the fucking kingdom or something. So I loved that episode as well, the standalone episode with the kingdom with Carol and Ezekiel. That's probably in my top 3 favourite episodes from season 7 as well. I loved that shit. Oh man, I forgot about that episode. I must rewatch it. But like, I loved that. I loved that the season was just, it seemed like it was choppy and changey and all over the place, and then it all came together in the last few episodes. Because I kept saying that throughout the season. People were kind of complaining about the pacing and about the episodes and how they were done, and it's fair enough. You know, like I keep saying, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and that format doesn't work for everyone. But I loved it, and I loved watching it all naturally come together at the end. And then at the scene where Negan's in Alexandria, and then fucking Maggie comes out of nowhere and Ezekiel comes out of nowhere, it's like, there you go. All those like little standalone episodes led up to this moment. So I really loved that, and I loved getting to see the kind of isolated episodes too. Because like I have said before, my favourite episode ever of The Walking Dead is the episode Still. And yes, I said that, you guys. Lots of people disagreed, and there were a lot of people going, what the fuck, you liked that episode? I did. I loved how dialogue heavy it was. I loved that it was tense, it was claustrophobic, it was so isolated from the rest of the season. Everyone was like, well, what's happening with blah blah, whoever else? And then you get this episode with Daryl and Beth, and I loved that. And I know Beth wasn't a very loved character. I thought she was a cool old character. Do you know, I didn't have nothing against her really. But I loved that episode, because I think, as far as I know, that was the first time that we ever saw an episode strictly centred around 2 characters. While it threw a lot of people, it completely worked for me. I really liked that. And I feel like we saw, like I've said so many times in this video, with like the Eugene episode and the Tara episode and the Rick and Michonne episode, I feel like we've seen a lot of episodes that follow that kind of format this season, which could be why I loved it so much as well, because I love isolated episodes. I really do. And yes, there's a lot that I probably forgot to talk about there, because it's me. And there'll probably be people in the comment. Heath! Jesus Christ, Heath, there we go. Heath disappeared. Fucking, apparently either eaten by walkers or jumped off a bridge, we don't know. I reckon Heath will pop up again somewhere in season 8, because we didn't specifically see his death. Unless we see a death, Noah style, then I don't really believe it happened, if you know what I mean. I think Heath could have gotten away. Especially because, you know, Tara then finds something on the fucking road and she's like, oh, I hope you're okay or whatever. So I reckon Heath is gone somewhere. It'll be interesting to see who he turns up with. He could turn up with a new community. He could turn up with the community that we already know. I think it's going to be really cool when he does resurface, which I hope he does. Because otherwise it's like, well, there's a great character just disappeared. So I don't see that happening at all. He'll come back. I reckon he'll come back sometime next season. But yeah, I do. I forget to talk about a lot of stuff. And then I turn off the camera and I'm editing and I'm like, But like once the camera is off, there's no way I'm getting it back out again. Carol is another thing that I've loved this season. She went back into badass mode as we saw in the later episodes. I love her. Like I've said before, a lot of people were bitching about her character that all she did was whine in a house. Okay, if that's what you got from that, then that's your opinion. Fair play to you. Be happy with your opinion. But that was her taking time that she needed to try and get her thoughts straight, to try and decide what the fuck am I going to do? Am I going to leave? Am I going to not leave? Can I do what needs to be done? And then she decided in the end, yep, I can do what needs to be done. And she went back into badass mode. Her and Morgan. Morgan has had such an interesting arc this season as well. I said that really weird. Interesting. Morgan has really stepped it up this season. The season where he had the breakdown for me, or not the season. The episode where he had the breakdown in the street. Probably, apart from the premiere, the most powerful scene of the entire season for me. Like, I got fucking chills. I could not drag my eyes away from the screen. That was absolutely fucking unreal acting. And I feel bad for the cast of The Walking Dead as well, because they never get like recognised in the ways that they should. They deserve so many awards and so much recognition. They pump like so much work and love and effort into this show. Like, give them all the fucking awards. They deserve it. They're going on to season 8 now. Jesus. Andrew Lincoln's acting in the premiere. If that doesn't deserve a fucking Oscar, don't know what does. Or an Emmy, or whatever the fuck you guys call it, wherever you are from in the world. I feel like this season, I've said it already to a few people and they've been like, really? I think this season has been my favourite season so far. I loved everything about it. I loved how the characters were displayed to us. I loved the kind of mystery that the whole season kept, that like, you were always wondering about someone. You were wondering where someone went, or what happened to someone. But I think I've rambled on long enough. Might do a part 2 to this where I better explain stuff. Again, this was spur of the moment. I was going to plan for this video and then I didn't. Clearly I didn't. We have that shit in the background. But I was going to plan for it and then I didn't. I woke up and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the video now. So this has just been like a trail of thought kind of video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know and I'll do a part 2 where I kind of talk more. Because I know there's going to be characters I forgot to talk about where people yell at me and they're like, you left out. It was just a few things that really stood out to me and a few of my thoughts on stuff. So if you want to see like a part 2, let me know. I hope you guys have a great weekend and I'll talk to you soon.